Oh, well, there you go.
Look at that. That's high tech right
Shoot, yeah,
there.
man. I don't know if I could have done that.
Important thing is make sure you hit stop when it's over.
All right, it's 4:02 on January 9th, 2023. We'll start the meeting if you call the roll. Oh, I'm sorry, you on?
Yes, sir, I'm ready now.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Mr. Anderson, Mr. Harbsmeyer.
Here.
Mr. Harris.
Here.
Mr. Isbell.
Here.
Mr. McInnes.
Here.
Mr. Schaefer.
Here.
Ms. Templeton.
Here.
Mr. Wright.
Here.
Yes, sir, you have quorum, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we'll move on to item number 2. May I get a motion for approval of the agenda?
So move.
Second.
In a second. Any citizen or delegation want to speak? Okay, none. Number 4, approval of the minutes from October 17th.
Second.
All right, although, and I'm going to abstain, I was not present, so all those for say aye. Opposed, no. That passes. All right, the county mayor's, I'm sorry, financial report.
Okay, you've got your reports in front of you, and we're reporting on 3 months rather than 2 because we did not meet in November.
Okay.
So if you look at your budget versus actual, we're doing really well with that. If you look at your balance sheet detail, you're going to see that we have in First State, well, it's now Simmons Bank, $1,615,000 in Volunteer State, $2,033,000, which has now, that $2,033,000 has been transferred to, no, the $1,615,000 has been transferred to Volunteer State Bank. So all the money is in one place. And the LGIP account is $756, makes a total of $4,405,205.16.
All right, any questions? Motion to approve.
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. That passes, unanimous. All right, county mayor's report.
No report, Mr. Chairman.
All right, no report. And director's report.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This will be pretty quick. Sent out the email a few months ago about last month about the audit. Just give you a little bit of background on that. We received a letter, I think it was in October, from Lemon saying that they had sold to Blankenship. I had a conference call with both entities there in late October, and they said they would send me information on when to, or where to send the packet, and also ask about any increase or decrease in charges for what we'd already agreed to earlier this year, or last year. I did not get that information until late December. By that time, understandably, it's a little late in the game to be trying to find somebody to do an audit for an ECD district. Also, I checked with some other districts who use or find out who they used for auditors. Checked with those auditors, and they had also said, "Hey, we would love to bid on this, but we just don't have the time to satisfy this requirement for this year." So I did feel like we didn't have much of a choice but to go with Blankenship. If we want to revisit that in the spring to see if we want to stay with them or go with somebody else, we can do that. But it is going to cost us $500 more than what we anticipated this year to have the audit done for this year. Got a letter back from the state last week, I believe it was, indicating that they have received notice from Blankenship that the audit will be late, but that should be in by the end of January. So we'll come back with you in probably at our next meeting and find out what they're going to charge from Blankenship to do our audit going forward, and if we want to try to find somebody else.
I'd like to try somebody else because I think it's a dirty deal he tried to pull. And otherwise, if we had time, I wouldn't have gone with it because he bought the place with knowing what our contract was locked in. I think we could have held him to it, but we didn't have time to.
Correct.
This
Yeah.
year.
Or we're sort of tied there at that point. We can't go anywhere else.
Yeah.
So. CAD and RMS. We talked about this a few months back about our problems that we're having with Central Square. We have compiled a list of wants as far as CAD, RMS, and a few other modules, MDT, AVL, from all of our client agencies and the ECC. Put that together and we put out a request for quote to about 6 different vendors just to find out what it would cost us roughly to go to a different CAD and RMS system. We sent those out in probably mid-December, so I expect those to come back probably this month sometime, probably next week. But I think that we need to look at, see if this is feasible for us to go with somebody else. Central Square is really not very friendly as far as following through with their obligations, maintenance-wise, replying. I'll give you an update on the refresh in a minute, but that's just, it's not, I'm not a big fan of Central Square. So I think that we at least need to see what else is out there and how much it's going to cost us, and revisit this and see if we need to stay with Central Square or move to somebody else. So I'll present that information when I have that probably next meeting.
And quick, you put out 6 quotes or 6
Just
requests
a
for quotes?
request for quote, yes, sir. Yes, sir. And there are a ton of CAD vendors out there. These are the ones that I had met with at either conferences or talked to with somebody else. And we can certainly put out more of those and get those back. At some point, if we need to put out an RFP, then we can certainly do that. But at this point, we just need to find out what it's going to cost, and if it's too expensive, then we'll have to stick with what we have. But, sure. As far as the refresh, we had another conference call with Central Square and Infonet today. They're putting us off at least another month and a half, maybe 2 months. Part of the issue is with the telephones and getting an operational readiness test through AT&T. So we can't really blame that on Central Square, but everything else, the CAD cutover, the RMS cutover, this was supposed to be done in October, and we keep getting put off. They claim that they don't have the resources, and it's just a frustrating experience. So one of the questions I brought up today was, we've had this equipment at least in our building since about May. So does that mean that our warranty starts right then, or are you going to hold off and not let our warranty start until you get the equipment started? And of course, there was no answer to that, as you can expect. So we found issues. There's a module called IQ Search. I checked with all of the client agencies. Nobody has been using that. Actually, there was a ticket that was put in with Central Square in 2019 by Jamie Sullivan at Gallatin, and it never was fixed. Well, we're being charged about $10,000 per year for a maintenance fee for that we're not getting a benefit from. So after some back and forth with Central Square, they finally agreed to credit us about $20,000 for that piece. So that can go towards some other fees that we're going to have to pay anyway. Not to bounce around, but if we do switch vendors, that is a process that will take about 2 years. So just to give you a heads up on that, not a quick process, and that's something we really don't want to rush anyway. We want, 1, to find the right vendor, and 2, we want our data migrated correctly and fully so that we're not missing out on anything. So that's on the refresh. That is all I have. That's all I have.
Well, it certainly sounds like it's time to start looking, because they're not being very attentive to the needs of the customer. And when you have somebody like that you depend on, it's time to start looking. Absolutely. So, any questions? ECC Director.
Good afternoon. As far as our staffing goes, we have 4 individuals scheduled to start on the 17th of this month. That will bring our shortage down to 7. We're already in the process of going through applications and trying to find another setup group to come in February 27th to hopefully bring us down a little further. Since the last meeting, we did go live with emergency medical dispatch last Wednesday. We were doing okay with it until last night. We started having some technical glitches, so we had to take it down this morning, and Telecom or APCO is working on it today. We're doing some reprogramming, and once it's prepared, we'll be able to go back live with it. And that's the update for the ECC at this time.
Any questions?
How long is the training process there at ECC?
It varies. Currently right now, when an employee comes in, they have a month long of classroom training, which includes getting them coordinated with the agency as well as going through some certification classes. Once they complete that, they will go to the floor, and varying on what our requirements are at that time, they could do a variety of things. Could be training on one of the law enforcement agencies, fire or EMS, or call taking. Is where the need is. And then that training varies somewhat on the agency itself, as well as the trainee's ability to grasp onto the concept of the training. We're looking at trying to go to some uniformed dispatch procedures across the police departments, because right now each department, for the most part, has to have separate training because of differences. So if we can get that more uniform, and then we can just do a unified training for all law enforcement, so that will cut down significantly on the training. Also, it increases our resources for those departments as well. Instead of having 40 employees, but only 10 of them can do this one particular agency, all of them would then be able to do that one agency.
Well, we appreciate the job y'all do.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any old business on the agenda that you're aware of?
No, sir.
All right, any new business?
Done.
All right. Anybody have anything else to add or question or bring up before we go to the next item?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to second?
One thing, Mr.
Oh.
Chairman, if you don't
Oh,
mind,
yeah.
I forgot to mention this. 10-hour shifts. I know that the ECC is looking to put some of their folks on 10-hour shifts. I talked to Mayor Isbell a few months ago and learned that the assessor's office under his direction had gone to some 10-hour shifts also. I certainly do not want to close the office. It's going to be open still 8 to 4:30 Monday through Friday. And I don't think I need a vote on this, but does anybody have any input or any reluctance to me trying 10-hour shifts for our employees at the ECD office, as long as we're maintaining the open office 8 to 4 Monday through Friday?
I personally do not. My only comment to that would be whatever works best for you and that gets the job done. I'm a believer in letting you manage the office. That's my input, so I have no objections.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Whatever is easiest for the employees.
I have one employee who lives in Antioch, and I'm thinking, with gas prices, it would benefit her, and if she can still get the work done 4 days a week, then that's a benefit there, and keeps our employees happy. So, all right. Thank you.
No problem. All right, we are adjourned. It is time for dinner, I reckon.
No, I gotta stay a little.
I like to eat a little early.